Hi everyone. It's nice to be with you. Before I start, I will put my mandatory bio slide. What's important to know: I'm a French computer scientist, and I've been a tech startup entrepreneur since 1996. Today, I'm running Startup Yard. I'm managing Startup Yard for the past 7 years. Startup Yard is a high-tech startup accelerator, which means that we usually come before the angels, or we work with angels. In fact, we very often prepare startups who are a little bit too early for the angels. So we really come very early stage. Accelerators are not scared to go, pre-launch, companies who are pre-launch or pre-revenue. We have been doing this since 2011. So that's going to be 10 years. We have invested in 75 companies who have raised so far more than 35 million euro. We have exited from 8 companies, including the company from VIT, who was presenting before, Brand Embassy. So far, out of those 75 companies, more than 52% of them are still alive and going well. Some of them are actually on a high growth trajectory. So we're pretty happy for those, and we look forward for the next one. I do also other things that you can see on the slide. I think the most important one is the last bullet point, because poker is a game of money decision making with only partial information, and that's really what a business angel usually has to do, making money decision based on really partial information. Now, I don't know if I'm a good investor because I'm a good poker player, or a good poker player because I'm a good investor, but I'm still waiting to solve that problem. So the people at Groupon asked me to talk to you about how to be a good business angel. The truth is, I have been working with business angels for the past 26 years. I had business angels investing in my company. We have business angel investing in Startup Yard itself. We also have business angels investing in the Startup Yard companies. So my first reaction when they asked me, well, can you talk about how to be a good business angel? I was like, well, what does good actually mean? What does it mean to be a good business angel? Does it mean to have a 100x, and that's a good business angel? So my first thought, and I've put together a few thoughts for you. My first thought, well, what's a good business angel? You're really only going to be as good as your deal flow. And that's one of the most important things. You can be really good in everything else down the line, but this down the line is going to be down the drain if at the top you do not have a proper deal flow. Just to give you an example, at Startup Yard, I've reviewed more than 1,500 startup probably. We're currently getting about 1-2 new application from very early stage startups. And from all of those, we only take about 3% of what we're seeing. That means there's a lot of activity. It also means that we choose very much, but we're very lucky because we have a cross-border deal flow. In fact, those 75 companies I was mentioning we have invested into, they are coming from 19 different countries. So business angels who work with us have a deal flow that is coming from multiple countries. So today I want to talk to you about what I have seen in my experience with business angels on both sides of the table at different points in the life of a company. Of course, I'm going to talk about deal flow. I'm going to talk about due diligence, what to do, what not to do, some legal and percentage. There's always some big discussion on percentage and valuation, and I've seen everything. I want to talk about what is an active versus a passive business angel. I'll give you an example of a well-constructed portfolio, according to me, and when maybe it is a good time to exit, depending on the type of company you are dealing with. So let's talk a little bit about the deal flow. Again, you're only as good as your deal flow, which means that you really have basically to find a needle in a haystack. There is a lot of startups out there. It's a revolution. There's probably way too many of those, but not all of them deserve your attention. So what you have to do, as we know, and you have to do that, this is what a little bit what Vit was talking earlier, you really have to spray and pray your investment. It is a really bad idea if you have only, I don't know, let's say 100K to put 100K in one startup. That's a really dangerous game. So you really should be spray and pray, and you should invest in projects that you really understand. We invest in high-tech technology because we understand high-tech technology, computer science. I will not invest in chemical things. I have no idea what's going on with chemi. And then when you start getting that deal flow, there's a lot of questions we're asking yourself, and you should be asking yourself, which are, am I looking at a vitamin or am I looking at a painkiller? You would rather invest in a company that is a painkiller rather than a nice to have, rather than a vitamin. Is it a feature of something else, or is it a business on its own that can hold on its own? These are questions we ask ourselves. Vic mentioned, invest in the founders, invest in people you like. You don't want to work with people you don't like, but most importantly, invest in people you think you can trust. From my experience, well, sometimes you think you can trust someone, but it turns out it's not the case. Otherwise, they wouldn't be so divorced in the real world, right? So try to think if you can really trust those people with your own cash. Look for this unfair advantage of the founders. What do they have? What have they done in the past? What do they know that other people don't, that other people don't have access to, and probably will have problem copying what they are doing? We invest in high tech, which means that we invest into tomorrow. Do not invest in yesterday's problem. Look for the mega trends. Look at how society is involved. If you really want to go, for the high growth, look at those mega trends within the society, within the corporate world, and try to identify, when you meet companies, how well they fit within those mega trends. And yeah, if it sounds too good, it's probably too good to be true. It probably is. I have seen quite a lot of too good to be true businesses in my life. They usually they usually are associated with the word blockchain, but don't get me wrong, I'm a big fan, and we have made investment in blockchain companies and cryptocurrency. But if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. We see like the fake entrepreneur. I'll give you some example probably later if I have the time. And maybe as part of the deal flow, consider funds on funds. Consider to invest into syndicates. Consider to invest into a network. Consider investing into an accelerator, or maybe even consider investing into becoming an LP, investing into a VC firm. These are really good way to get access to a managed deal flow and other people basically bringing you new deals for you, because it is extremely hard for a business angel to get access to a wide quality deal flow. We've been doing it for like 10 years, so I know it's hard. And we've been doing it with even harder because we're looking for those companies that are not even visible on the market yet, the invisible startup. Due diligence, let's talk about a few words about due diligence. There's two approaches, the gut instinct or the full medical cross-examination, which I call the cross-examination syndrome, because really no amount of due diligence is going to guarantee the success. So you can spend, hours trying to dig, but ultimately, what drives the founder? Vic mentioned that before. Are they doing it because they really care about what they're doing and what they're bringing to the world, the problem they're solving, or they're just looking for success, for money? When I see founders who haven't launched a product yet talking to me about exits, I'm getting a red flag. It's my job to think about exit at this stage. It's his job to start getting on with the work and build a real business. Invest in projects you understand. I've mentioned it. It's really, really important. Beware of the external experts during your due diligence. How many times have I asked someone, what do you think? And they will give me like a thumb down. And turns out we still invested and we were right. And we should have not listened to them. So I'm not saying do not listen to external experts, but don't let them make your own decision. These are just a parameter in your decision-making process. The financial projection that the startup are showing you are wrong. Do not base anything on those. I am yet to see a pre-launch even early revenue startup and founders with no experience building businesses providing financial projection that were grounded, that actually makes sense. So ignore those, but make sure that the money you give them is giving them 18 months of runway. They need to spend that money within 18 months, and you need to see the result within 18 months. Longer is not worth it. If they can do shorter, if they can break even in 3 weeks, that's great. But otherwise, plan according to about a cost load. Don't assume any revenue and just look, okay, this is going to cost X. This is going to last for 18 months. Moving on a little bit from the due diligence to the discussion, the legal and the percentage. My advice, if you can, is to take equity into the startup. That simplifies the solution. It's not always possible because there could be some dynamic conversation about valuation with people who don't have a revenue yet. It really depends where you are in the cycle. Again, I'm dealing with no revenue company. If you're dealing with company who have some revenue, it's much easier to assess and probably agree on a valuation. Otherwise, just keep it simple. You do not need to have a convertible note of 25 pages as a business angel. I have seen those. It's just keep it simple, keep it founder friendly. Don't be greedy. I have seen founders coming and we have a conversation. They have some problem with their startup and they say, "Oh, we have an investor." I ask them how much does the angel own on the cap table, and some of them say, 57%, 61%. Even the sneaky one, they say 51%. So I'd ask them, "So what does the investor do?" Say, "Nothing. They just gave us the money." Yeah, they just gave you the money. My experience is that a business angel should always be between 10 and 15% of equity that he wants to get. The truth is that I've seen angels who think that their money is worth more than the hard work of the founders. But when you start thinking like this, you are basically blocking yourself for future investors to come in anyway. I had a case where startups gave away 41% of their company to an investor. I told them they were crazy to do that. 2 years later, no VC wanted to invest because there was no room for the founders. The founders were not motivated. So the investor had to rebuild the whole initial deal so that there was room for the founders in order to grow. So beware of inflated valuation. I'm having some ridiculous conversation. I've been having some ridiculous conversation with founders on valuation, especially the very early or pre-revenue. So in that case, it's much better to stop the conversation or maybe move to some other mechanism like convertible note. But really focus on the upside, not on the dilution. Be very happy if you have 15% and that company is going to be worth $1 billion. By the time it will be worth $1 billion, you will probably be around 7, 6, 7, 8%. But still, you will have a huge cake, a huge slice of a cake for yourself. Don't abuse or do not abuse protective clause. I'm seeing this more and more those days. It wasn't so much the case in the past. I mean, if you're looking for protection, buy some bonds or buy some Bitcoins or, something that you can be sure you can get your money back. This is the highest asset when it comes to investment. So protective clauses are really anywhere when the things goes horribly, horribly wrong, usually. And if you are here to protect your money through startup investment, you're probably not thinking correctly, or this money should probably be elsewhere. Still, protect yourself from scammers. They are scammers, of course, and make sure you ask for participation rights in future financing and exit options. Let me move on to active versus passive, or maybe I should say bully versus supportive, or maybe I should say control freak versus coach. Nobody wants to work with a bully. Nobody wants to be bullied. I've seen angels actually making physical threats to founders during boards because they were panicking about their investment that they should have not probably invest in the first place. being a founder of a startup is extremely hard. The last thing you want is a booty control freak behind you. Vince wants a cheerleader, and I fully agree with that. You need to keep the founders motivated. They are the one working. I've seen founders who were not motivated anymore because of the investor. They felt that they were working for the investor, and they were just not happy. And if they were not happy, they were not performing. As simple as that. Your job is to promote your investment, not to manage the business, the company inside. Your job is to solve, but not blame. You're an executive person, you're an adult. You're dealing also with adults. Startups are extremely, extremely hard. One thing that I do is, of course, I use a business dashboard for my startup, so I know where we are. But what's important is, and sometimes it's really hard, is to sell this business dashboard, not as a big brother kind of like I'm watching everything you're doing on that Excel spreadsheet or whatever dashboard you're using, but sell it to the founder as a tool, because this business dashboard has to contain all the key indicator of the business. So make your own. They probably don't have a dashboard. If they have one, it's maybe not great. So make a fantastic business dashboard. You probably know how to do that, and sell it to your founder as a tool for them to manage, to see, to control, and to report. And they just have to, feed it up once a week, once a month, whatever the frequency of the data you're tracking is relevant. And try to enforce regular updates. I usually like to do the 3 Ps, which is we celebrate the progress, we address the problems, and we prioritize priorities. And that's a good framework I like to use. That really helps the founder putting in silos what's going on in their companies, and helping them, trying to take a bit of a helicopter view on what is going on. So be a super supportive angel, and really be here and help the founder grow the company, and brag about your investment everywhere you go. Make some introduction to potential customers. Be that ambassador that they need you for. I want to give you an example of a well-constructed portfolio. According to me, let's basically take 300,000 euro and let's pray and pray. So how do we do that according to me? We're going to put 25K in a portfolio of about 10 startups, which is more or less what Jacopo was mentioning before, around 25K per startup in a portfolio. That's 250K. And then put 50K I put an accelerator batch because I'm completely biased. And but you can also put that in a network or in a syndicate or something that will give you or multiply the number of individual investment that you make. Because with that model, you basically invest in up to 20 startups, and then you can pick and choose in the future the one you might want to support even more, but you're spraying and praying as much as possible. When to exit? There's an elephant in the room. Every time I have a discussion with the VC, I have this bubble above my head that says, how predatory are their terms? The fact of the matter is that the barbarians are back in town. I've been 26 years in this industry, so I've seen practices, good and bad. I've had good and I've had bad investors. I'm seeing bad practices coming back right now. And unfortunately, those bad practices are handicapping the founders, but can very significantly impact negatively the business angels as well. So beware of that. It's totally, it's real. It's happening. When to exit is really about what you're looking at. Is it a family? Does this startup turn into a family business or a high growth startup? The family business, early returns are important, and it's a good idea to maybe exit those one and stay in the high growth as long as possible. Those early returns not only are important, but will allow you to keep on diversifying into new potential startup, to keep on spraying and praying. This is another very important point. So those early returns are important, but yet still, we don't have those on the numbers from Jacopo. Look for that 10x. They exist. They are there. There are not a lot of them. So you keep, you're aiming for those, and you exit the one that not happening so fast and so with such a high growth. And well, when things go bad, because they will more likely go bad than go well, as we know from the data. Be supportive. That sounds obvious, but really be supportive, because most startups fail, which means you also need to know your bankruptcy law, because the founders, they don't know anything about bankruptcy. They don't know that maybe they will end up in debt towards the social security or other things like that. So make sure that you know your bankruptcy laws, so you can actually be the right advisor for them and the right investor who knows. And anyway, as an angel, you will have bankruptcies. It's just inevitable. And learn from your postmortem, of course, like every other business, every other activity. Never invest money you can't lose. This will have a direct impact on how you behave as an angel. If you are playing with scale money, you will not behave or react or adapt, or you will not even think logically what is the best thing to do. So don't invest money you can lose. And just like we say in poker, don't play with money you can't afford to lose. That's it for now for me, and I look forward to be on the panel later. Thank you.